Hamas has released 4 female Israeli soldiers held in Gaza, and 200 Palestinian prisoners have been released from Israeli jails as part of the ceasefire agreement that halted more than 15 months of war. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, confirmed on Saturday that it had transferred 128 Palestinian detainees to Gaza and the West Bank while local authorities handled the release and transfer of the remainder, completing the second exchange under the deal that took effect last Sunday. Before the release of the Israeli captives in Gaza City's Palestine Square, dozens of masked Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters gathered at the scene where a large crowd of Palestinians also congregated. The 4 women, Karina Ariv, Daniela Gilboa, Nama Levy, and Liri Albag, were marched onto a podium where they waved and smiled, likely under duress. They were then led into ICRC vehicles, which transported them to Israeli forces. Representatives of the ICRC and a Hamas fighter were seen signing documents before the release. Later on Saturday, buses carrying released Palestinian prisoners were seen departing from the Israeli Ofer military prison in the occupied West Bank. Israel's prison service said all 200 prisoners were released in line with the list published by Hamas. The releases on either side were welcomed by cheering crowds of Palestinians in the city of Ramallah, in the occupied West Bank, and by Israelis in Tel Aviv. The Israeli captives were among more than 200 soldiers and civilians seized during the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on October 7, 2023, which killed at least 1,139 people, according to an Al Jazeera tally based on Israeli statistics. In response to the attack, Israel launched a ferocious war on Gaza, which has killed more than 47,283 people, according to Palestinian health authorities, and destroyed much of the enclave's civilian infrastructure. Northern Gaza return delay. Despite the completion of the exchange on Saturday, both Israel and Hamas accused the other side of breaking the terms of the truce deal. Israel said that under the terms of the agreement, a female civilian captive, 29-year-old Arbel Yehud, should have been released before the soldiers. A Hamas official told Al Jazeera that Yehuda is alive and will be released next Saturday. Yossi Meckelberg, an analyst of UK-based Chatham House, has told Al Jazeera that disagreements over which prisoners to release and the modalities of their exchange have shown the precariousness of the current Gaza ceasefire deal. It's a volatile and fragile situation, but the mediators are careful that every incident is not blown out of proportion, Meckelberg said, adding that for the deal to be successful, it will need the international community constantly engaged to guarantee that it moves forward day by day. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Palestinians in Gaza will not be allowed to cross back to the northern part of the territory until the issue over his release is resolved. Thousands of Palestinians have been displaced from northern Gaza during the war, and many were expecting to return from Sunday, under the truce agreement. Israel said it would not be leaving the Netzarim corridor, which runs through central Gaza, and thus Palestinians would not yet be able to return to the north. Hundreds of people were waiting to enter northern Gaza, following the announcement that displaced Palestinians will be allowed to go to their homes in the areas on Sunday. Hamas accused Israel of delaying the implementation of the ceasefire deal. "We hold the occupation, Israel, responsible for any disruption in implementing the agreement and its repercussions on the rest of the stations," the group said. Al Jazeera's Hind Qudri, reporting from Gaza's Burej refugee camp, said many Palestinians consider Saturday's exchange of captives and prisoners as very important as they believed it would pave the way for their return to northern Gaza. Qudri quoted sources as saying that many displaced Palestinians were already massing near the Wadi Gaza area, hoping to be able to cross to the north from Sunday. Israel is also expected to open the Rafah border crossing in the south for more humanitarian aid and other commercial supplies to enter. Saturday's exchange was the second since a ceasefire began on January 19, when Hamas handed over 3 Israeli female civilians in exchange for 90 Palestinian prisoners. Palestinians held in Israeli jails. Among the 200 Palestinians released from Israeli jails on Saturday, 121 were serving life sentences, while 79 were serving long sentences. The oldest prisoner is 69 years old, while the youngest is 15. 70 Palestinians are due to be deported, with Egypt expected to host them for 48 hours. They will consequently be sent to Tunisia, Algeria, and Turkey, which all agreed to receive them. Tamer Karmout, an associate professor at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies, told Al Jazeera that the release of Palestinian prisoners is a huge relief for families, although it is happening under the horrible realities of the Israeli occupation. These prisoners should have been released through a bigger deal that ends the conflict, that brings peace through negotiations, through ending occupation, but the harsh reality in Palestine is that as we talk, occupation continues, Karmout told Al Jazeera.